Okay, y'all joining us virtually. This is the bell ringer for today, so you can take note of that and pause your screen to complete it. What we're doing is the second part of lesson 3, how to form your conscience. This is our friend Socrates. Socrates says that the unexamined life is not worth living. Okay, so we were trying to figure out, how do we know if we're making the good decision? Like, you need to take time in your daily life, in your weekly life, in your annual life, with like a yearly retreat or something, to stop and ask yourself, am I living the way I want to? What big decisions have I made recently, and how have they impacted me in my relationships? You have to slow life down, Socrates says, and you have to evaluate it. You have to learn from your experience, because if you don't, you're a waste of oxygen. He says, the unexamined life is not worth living, Socrates says. And so, in my own words, I say here that only when we pause and slow down are we able to relate on a deeper level to our actions. We can improve them the more we reflect on them. Now, this catechism paragraph says the same thing in its own words. It's important for every person to be sufficiently present to himself in order to hear and follow the voice of his conscience. This requirement of interiority is all the more necessary as life often distracts us from any reflection, self-examination, or introspection. Life is busy. Y'all have entertainment at your fingertips 24/7. You can always do something, but the problem with that is we often never do something productive or meaningful. So reflect on your life. I would say daily examine your conscience, and then, draw some real conclusions for that. So, you can learn from your own life experience. This is another value of Catholic education, because I give you a minute every class, if for no other reason than this. Just take a minute. How are you feeling today? How do you feel before God? What are you struggling with? Just identify it. Of course, then God can speak through your conscience, which is what we said last class. But I'm trying to foster that desire in you to reflect more. And then, of course, Turtlings makes you all go on a retreat every year. What do we do on junior retreat or senior retreat? Senior retreat, of course, it's like 2 full days. But we're creating a scenario for you to live more reflectively. All right? This one's going to take some explanation, so pay attention so that you can put it in words that make sense on the test. This is a human person. Human person, when rightly ordered, how the clicker just stops. When rightly ordered, we put our intellect first. We operate from our head. What is reasonable? What makes sense? What is logical? You have to operate abide by reason and logic. Think rationally. And then we choose that with our will, and we use our emotions to move us to do what our head, our intellect, has already told us to do. That's why I'll be honest with you, I get most of this slide from my wife, who loves this. I was like, all right, that works. I'll give it to the high schoolers. But emotions put you in motion. They give you the energy to do what you know first you should do. Unfortunately, especially at your age, we often live life upside down, and we put our emotions first, and we make big decisions off of that. And so, on the guy level, it looks like this. We're just so angry and upset that we just we don't control it oftentimes, and then we choose to do bad things without thinking about them. So that's how we get it backwards. When it comes to some ways, I think girls fall into this is if you're dating a really toxic guy in a toxic relationship for whatever reason, and but you just stay in it, and the girl doesn't dump him ever because we're working on it. I forgive him. It was somebody else's fault. All these silly things. The emotions are guiding that girl on staying in this bad relationship. She's not using her intellect. She's not using, this is not love. This is not fidelity. This relationship is not good for you. This is obvious. And stop waiting 5 more years for it to improve. The will is kind of like your ability to choose. So once you think, and then you choose, and then use your emotions to move you there. Unfortunately, a lot of us act impulsively off of our emotions. So when you have big decisions to make, to date or not to date, this college or that college, run away from home or not, ask yourself, emotions, are my emotions running the show right now? Let me tell you what this looks like on the adult level. When we get an ugly email from a parent, I got one on Friday. It just ruined the first few hours of my weekend, but I'm getting over it really quickly. When we get an email from a parent, we're told as teachers, and this is good advice, to wait 24 hours before you respond. 24 hours. Because if I respond right there in the moment, I'm probably going to be rash, operating off of emotion, say something that could get me fired. Possibly. So wait it out, go to sleep, come back the next day, and write an intellectual, professional, well thought out, explanatory email. Take that time. And y'all need to be aware of that too. Don't respond impulsively. That's one of the nice things about being married. Because I have to go home and run everything by my wife before I do everything. It forces me to slow down and not let my emotions get the best of me. So, summarizing point number 2 here. How do you form your conscience? Always put your intellect, your clear thinking brain in front of your emotions when it comes to making decisions. Live life right side up. Your head's on top, so use it first. And sometimes you got to let your heart calm down, to do that. All right? Good. Number 3 is educate yourself. Of course, that's the whole point of this course and this class, that you make informed decisions about what is right or wrong. And Catholic education is trying to help guide you to make decisions that'll lead you to heaven. But education is a lifelong task. The education of your conscience is a lifelong task. John Paoletti, with a master's degree in theology, has to form his conscience day in and day out. How to be a better husband, how to be a better father, how to be a better teacher. As new issues pop up, especially from all of our technology, always asking, what's the best thing to do? Inform it. I'm always learning, and you need to always learn too. And that's what I encourage you to do at the beginning of the semester with our opening bell ringer from Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Be open, form it, inform it, of course, with gospel values from Jesus Christ, but then with facts. And this is the main goal of your research paper, which, of course, we already talked about today. The goal is that you learn to take the time to analyze something, put it in the scales, weigh it for the pros and cons, and then make a clear, cohesive moral argument in your PowerPoint presentation to the class. So that you're not making an argument off of, personal emotion, feeling, maybe even family bias, which we all have. But you're making an informed decision. Educate yourself on topics, before you go running out into the world shouting something, have some real concrete support. This education guarantees freedom. It informs your intellect more, so you're not a slave to your emotions and your passions and your bias, and it engenders a peace of heart. And so that's kind of what we said last class, that when you follow your conscience with an informed conscience, educated conscience, you're going to be happier. You're just going to have more peace. All right. So I'll leave this up for another second or two, and then we'll go to number 4. Hey, Brett, you got an ID? ID checks. How we doing, Joseph? ID? ID? You good, Kenyans? It's underneath, okay. All right, number 4 is simple. And we've kind of already talked about it before when we did the STOP acronym. But number 4 is prayer. With a day, you have to let the Holy Spirit guide your conscience. And we already said that God can speak through your conscience regularly. So to tap into that voice, pray. So that you can feel God's strength, His grace, His power moving you to make the best decision. This is the best way, really, to form your conscience is, of course, having a daily personal relationship with God. Period 2 came up with this acronym for when you get this short answer question on your test. LEAP. They flipped the E and the A, which of course is fine. There's no particular order. But learn from your experience, educate yourself, abide by reason, have a regular prayer life, looking at the cross. At Turlings, we have a crucifix in every room. You should have a cross in your life. Am I living my life like Jesus calls me to? When you have to make a hard decision, do you take time to let the love of Christ guide you in that decision? Do you identify with that? I've got a quote near where I have a walk-in closet. I usually get dressed in the closet. I got this quote from Mother Teresa. It's very beautiful that I like to look at. She says, the only questions you need to ask at the end of the day is, what did I do for Jesus today? What did I do with Jesus today? There's one other one. What did I do? Another one that I'll have to read again tonight. But the point is that, am I living life for, God and my level 4 happiness or not? And so prayer, of course, allows you to do that. So there's your acronym that might help you on your test. That's lesson 4. That's lesson 3. And then we will do lesson 4 next class. All right. Sorry, Joseph. You got an ID, brother?